Hoover's Rotten Apple, Chapter 42. Dale and Elmer had ventured from Iowa's stereotypical topography. They no longer drove along the flatland, but instead in the Twainian land of a million glens, unsurmountable mountains, and a vascular system of rivers and creeks. No agricultural footprint was stamped on this land. Instead, the vegetation which subsisted from the craggy mountains and flaky cliffs was 100% natural. Trees, weeds, bushes, none of which was exploited and turned into profit. The tree's wood was too thin to be chopped, and every other plant was simply useless. To Dale and Elmer's left was a mountain's escarpment. The mountain's peak was invisible in the night sky. To their truck's right, a nameless river. Luminescent streaks of pearly white provided by the pregnant moon swam in the shadowy waters. The macadam road which Dale drove upon was occupied by only one other vehicle, that being Miriam's cabriolet. Her cab was far enough ahead for her two tail lights to form into one miniature spark. She never suspected herself of being followed, for Dale flicked off his headlights as soon as the clouds parted, allowing the moonlight to guide him. Miriam's cab turned left and disappeared up into a lone, narrow, winding mountain road. It was obviously a driveway, indicated by the mailbox at the turnoff. Elmer slugged Dale's shoulder and said, "Pull over." "How far up do you think that driveway goes?" Dale asked. Their truck was at a full stop. Elmer opened his passenger side door and stepped out. "I'd guess half a mile or so. Why'd someone want to build a house up there? I got no idea. I bet they're crazy, like all rich folks." The two marched up the mountain. A storm had clearly passed earlier in the week, for the entire mountainside was slathered in bottomless mud. Each step sank Dale and Elmer to their knees, and progress would have been impossible without the aid of tree branches to latch onto for support and additional balance. At one point, Dale's boot became trapped in its own muddy footprint. As he fished his boot free from its mud bath, he whined, "Remind me again why we couldn't just walk up that driveway of theirs, or better yet, drive up their driveway. Why do we have to go up through the forest by foot?" "'Cause, if for whatever reason those Quinn folks go down the driveway as we're climbing up it, they'd spot us, and we'll be busted." "What do you mean, busted? I thought we was just gonna ask them for our prison stripes back." "Why would I have you flick off our truck's taillights while following Miriam if we was just gonna ask for our PJs back?" Elmer grew impatient with waiting on Dale to retrieve his boot, so he started up the mountain alone. "I thought you just wanted to save electricity," Dale murmured incredulously. Before the conversation proceeded, the forest filled with the squealing of rubber tires and the blinding yellow ray of headlights. The two light beams and their accompanying squeals zipped down the mountainside, leaving Dale speechless and inspiring Elmer to not only speak, but cheer. That was Miriam and her boyfriend! It was the first whit of ecstasy Elmer had expressed since departing from the auction. "I saw them. They left the house. Come on, let's go quick before they come back." With that, Elmer began bouncing up the mountainside as though gravity was non-existent. "Hold up, Elmer," Dale called, trying to slip his foot back into his muddy boot. "How are we supposed to ask for our pajamas back now? Hold up, I said." But there was no stopping the zealous Elmer. Dale caught up, not thanks to a hastened step, but because Elmer stopped to absorb the view once he reached the mountain's peak. Elmer didn't care for the surrounding landscape visible from the mountaintop. It was a Quinn abode that captured his attention. It wasn't just an abode. It was a castle, a fortress. It was 5 flights of inestimable luxury, 1,000,000 paces long and 1,000,000 more wide. "Oh, my God," Elmer said without breath. Each window built into the vine-coated brick building was a stained-glass masterpiece. Historical battles between the split and warring Americas, biblical scenes, portraits of single personages and extended family, all twinkled in the moonlight. And each of these colorful art pieces was protected by sets of girthy iron bars. "Well, shucks. How are we supposed to break in now?" "What was that?" Dale asked, topping the mountain. "We're breaking what?" "We're breaking in. Least, that was the plan, but all them windows are barred up." Hearing Elmer's plan caused Dale to experience an abhorrent pang of epiphany. "No, no, 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 no. If that's how you want to play, then count me out. I'll walk right down that mountain and back to our truck this minute if you don't start acting with reason." Elmer was surveying the mansion in search for any point of possible entry. Don't think I won't do it, Elmer." Elmer was testing the sturdiness of each bar encasing each window. They were solid.
I mean, come on, Elmer. Breaking and entering is a felony, for crying out loud. At least we'll be on a public road while we're breaking into Freddy's chain gang. This is private property.
Elmer was parting the curtains of vines draped over each wall in search for a hidden passageway.
All right, that's it.
Dale spun away from the Quinn manor and planned on stomping down the mountainside and back to the truck just as promised. Yet he failed to take a single promised step. As he found out, standing directly behind him were two muscular, foaming, fully grown and matured German shepherds, Harrison's security. The two curs came sprinting at Dale with snapping jaws and baritone barks. Run! Dale screamed, fleeing to Elmer for protection. Don't run towards me! Elmer cried as he ran not from the bloodthirsty man-eaters but from Dale. Go take them hellhounds somewhere else. Anywhere else, but not towards me, damn it! The two sprinted to the mansion's back end. As he reached the buildings behind, Dale had to pause once more to digest the view. Despite the two hungry hounds on his tail, he felt it necessary to dedicate a second of admiration towards the exertion and scrupulousness displayed in Miriam's half-acre garden. From its moist ebony soil grew neat, salubrious columns of tomatoes, potatoes, and a spectrum of flowers, each with full, proud colors. She grew corn, toppetry hedges, and a spaghetti of vines which hugged the soil, and from those vines produced every shape, size, and color of pumpkin imaginable. Not 1 second after admirably studying Miriam's garden, Dale was trampling through it. The dogs were less than 5 feet away.
Don't just stand there, help me,
he cried to Elmer while batting at the shepherds with an elongated gourd. His leg was wrapped in pumpkin vines like a spool with its thread, making running a near impossibility. Elmer was standing at the garden's perimeter, watching the scene play out without taking any action. I'm on it, he called, but remained fixed in place. Instead of shaking free from the vine's grasp, Dale uprooted the plant altogether and was now running through Miriam's cornfield with one gigantic organic green boot. By no means did the boot help hasten Dale's mad dash for freedom. It only served to protect his Achilles tendon as the hounds chomped at his ankle. Before the dogs ate too far into Dale's vine-covered boot, Elmer hollered from the garden side until the cords bulged from his neck. Hey, mutts! Get your filthy asses over here! The world stopped. All eyes were on Elmer. He stood beside the only bare window in the property. Yeah, over here! Every vine attached to Dale's leg slid off at once. He sprung from the maze and towards the unprotected window. Elmer pounded at the glass, hoping to break it for Dale. The pane hardly flexed, let alone cracked. It wasn't until Dale hurled himself through the window frame that the stained glass obliterated into fragmented dust. Elmer jumped in after Dale, and the two bulleted through the mansion's glorious halls. The home's interior resembled that of a legendary hotel, from the golden-lined velvet carpets to the endless labyrinth of hallways with their chocolatey wooden paneling. The hallway was lit by glass chandeliers, the shape and hue of jellyfish, and they were decorated with oil paintings and choice pottery. Racing through those fabulous hallways shortly behind Dale and Elmer were the hounds, who also jumped without hesitation through the broken window. Hey Dale, quit running and get in here. Above a sealed doorway was an ajar transom window. Elmer had uplifted and replanted a vase's display stool under the doorway and used it to boost himself through the window. Dale followed suit, and as he fell headfirst into the bedroom, the window fell shut and the shady room became equally motionless as it had been before their arrival. Heavy breathing was all to be heard from within the room. Scratching and snarling was all to be heard from the outside. Slivers of cyan moonlight bled through the parted curtains of the room's only other window. The moon's gaze didn't flood the room at full, however. Only particular shades of stained glass permitted the moonlight's passage. Dale approached the singular window leading to the outside world. He believed the glasswork was depicting a youthful Confederate soldier standing in salute. More bars here, he noted, and these are prison-worthy. Elmer tumbled onto the plush, king-sized bed. He sank nearly a foot into the mattress and stared at the ornate, domed ceiling of French Renaissance influence. The dogs continued snarling at the door. What do we do now? Dale asked, pacing frantically. Elmer tried and failed to rise from the bed. Its plushness had swallowed him completely. You could try talking the dogs out of biting our asses off. You're the magician. Don't you make animals do whatever you want all the time?
That ain't even laughable. Yes, I work with animals, but those, Elmer, those ain't no animals. Those are beasts, savages, worse than Crebus.
Elmer crossed his legs and pillowed both hands behind his head. Well, if you can't talk with them, how about we instead shut up? If we just keep quiet and still, them mutts will eventually run off chasing a squirrel or something.
There ain't no squirrels inside, genius.
Dale now spoke in a whisper.
I think I see a lamp here.
We got anything to light it up with?
We don't need nothing. It's electric.
Elmer sat upright successfully this time and found the linen drum of an electric shade lamp standing on the bed's nightstand. Course it's electric. First, they got nice suits and pretty dresses. Then they stole every pretty penny of every farm in the county. Next, they got a house bigger than a factory. And now it's electrified. What next? Indoor plumbing?
Don't be bashing on electricity. It's a nifty appliance. It really is. Just let me plug her in and...
The room instantly sparked to life. A choir of colors sang from the maroon carpet, bullion ceiling, and each plaque and platter displayed on the walls.
Alrighty, let's see if there's anything useful in here now.
Dale stepped throughout the newly lit room, examining each corner and peeking behind each article of Victorian furniture. But it was Elmer, sitting upright in the jelly-like bed, who made the first truly important discovery in the newfound light. Directly in front of him was a chifforobe, and hanging among the gowns and tuxedos was a scratchy old shirt sleeve. Nothing was seen besides the sleeve, and running along the white sleeve were 3 black stripes. "Oh my golly!" Elmer gasped, squirming out of bed. "Dale, come over here. Quick, I found something." As they approached the chifforobe, it became clear that the 2 sleeves belonged to the mug. More importantly, the sleeves belonged to Dale and Elmer.
Oh my, oh my, oh me, oh my.
Dale cheered and bounced into the air so high he nearly smashed his head on the gold-plated ceiling. Elmer produced a striped top from its hanger and held it close to his body. "What do you say? Put them on under our normal clothes like last time?"
We've got them, might as well.
Elmer changed in the bedroom, Dale in the bedroom's connected bathroom. After exiting the bathroom, Dale found Elmer in bed dressed in his usual rags just as before. In Elmer's hand was a leather-bound book with an attached ribbon bookmark. It wasn't until Dale read the book's title that he understood Elmer's newfound interest in literature. A single cursive word was embodied into the front cover. The letters spelled diary. No investigation was required to discover whose diary it belonged to. Dale instead said,
"Come on, Elmer. We need to be looking for an escape, not snooping through Miriam's diary."
"I ain't snooping in nothing. I'm looking for some sort of secret passageway she might have jotted down. These rich folks always got hidden exit ways in order to escape a burglar or something like that."
Do you genuinely believe I'm that gullible, or are you just that stupid? She wouldn't jot down no secret passageways in her diary. Does she got a hidden escape? Maybe, but she wouldn't need to write it down to remember where it's at.
"Well, why else would I be reading her diary?"
I don't know, maybe you want to expose her for something.
"I've already got enough reasons to hate her as is. Everyone's got enough reasons to hate her. What's a few more gonna do? Nothing. So there's no reason for me reading this other than for an escape."
Whatever. Have you checked their sock drawer for anything?
"No, I found this on the nightstand by the lamp." Dale rolled his eyes and opened the sock drawer.
Ain't nothing but clothes. Clothes, more doggone clothes, and... Wait! Hey, Elmer, check this out.
Elmer took his eyes off the diary and saw Dale with a bottle of Burgundy in each fist.
"Here, catch."
Elmer let the bottle bounce onto the mattress so he wouldn't need to part from Miriam's diary. "That's funny. Says right here that Harrison was pro-prohibition. You got a corkscrew to open this up with?"
"Yep, hold up."
After uncorking his own bottle, Dale tossed the screw to Elmer. It bounced on the bed as well. "And now toss me that Hotel Skelter flask. Might as well spice things up, you know." That, too, landed on the bed, beside the corkscrew. Other items discovered within the Quinn chifforobe included a diamond-shaped glass bottle of perfume, a cylinder of cologne, a photograph of Miriam's elder mother, and a rag doll. Dale found use only in the cologne, which he sprayed on himself without hesitation. Just as he finished spraying himself, the bedroom filled with the crunch of shattering glass. He whipped his head at breakneck speed towards the window, but found it was perfectly intact. Next he looked to Elmer. Sure enough, Elmer had broken the wine glass over the bed frame and held the razor-sharp bottleneck in hand as though ready to strike.
"What in tarnation are you doing?"
Dale yelled. "I've worked up the flawless plan, Dale. First, we kill the dogs." "No!" Dale interrupted. Before Elmer attempted to exculpate himself, Dale said,
"We've already torn up their garden, broke a window, dragged all the crud from their garden into their carpets, and now you go and spill wine and broken glass everywhere. We don't need dog blood to be added to this list of shit to clean."
"Well, it's either we attack or we wait here, get drunk, and get caught," Elmer retaliated.
"You hear yourself? You're already drunk. Maybe if you were to help me instead of lying down and snooping in Miriam's diary, we'd be out by now."
Elmer rolled out of bed, spilling the flask's ginger-colored elixir onto the pastel comforter in the process. He wobbled towards Dale until the sweat bead could roll down his chin and onto Dale's forehead. "You want me to help, huh?" The gales of Elmer's acidic breath nearly disintegrated Dale's skin on contact. "How's this for help?" Behind Dale was the shiffer rope. Elmer threw all his weight into overbalancing it, and Dale scurried away just in time to avoid getting flattened as it slammed onto the floor. "Looks to me like nothing in here can help us get out now, don't it?" Elmer hollered, kicking at the hundreds of shiffer rope fragments scattered across the carpet. "How about under the bed? Let's see what secrets lie under there."
"That's enough!"
Dale grabbed Elmer by the wrist. Elmer continued towards the bed without so much as breaking pace. "Anything under you for us? Well, time to find out." He gripped the bed frame and flipped it into the air with ease. As the bed frame plummeted down, the mattress crumpled to the electric lamp and its nightstand. Elmer picked the crippled nightstand off the ground and inspected it performatively. "Oh, night table, you got something you want to tell me?" He punched a hole through the tabletop and started for the bathroom. "And let's see if I was right. You fellas really got all that neat indoor plumbing? Them white shit boxes? I bet you do." He burst through the bathroom door and dissolved into laughter upon seeing the porcelain toilet. "And what in the name of Sam Hill is this? A toilet and an indoor shower stall? Let's see how well your flush power really is, you stupid little toilet." He effortlessly tore the shower curtain from its rod, rammed it down the toilet's throat, and kicked at the trigger until it flushed. The toilet began gagging and gurgling immediately. All the while, Dale remained idling in the trampled bedroom. At his feet was Miriam's diary. The first line read, "Oh, what a paramour my little Harrison was, and to think he is now all mine." Dale scanned this line 10 times before raising his head and yelling imprudently,
"For the love of God, so what? Miriam didn't love you back. Quit destroying her stuff."
Dale's crashing symphony of madness ceased immediately. The only immutable aspect of his rampage became the suffocating toilet's trickling rain. "You think this is revenge because I loved Miriam and she didn't love me back?" he whispered indignantly as he returned to the bedroom with Dale. "Let me tell you something about Miriam. She promised me her love for one thing. One thing! I gave it to her, and you know what she did? She spat in my face and laughed. So when you say she don't deserve my revenge, I'll let you know you're right. My revenge is too merciful. She deserves her house to be burnt down, not trashed. She deserves to be homeless and poor and broke like the rest of the country. Not appear in her mansion with her pool of money, breaking hearts as he pleases. She deserves much more than this."
"But what was the thing?"
Dale winced.
"What was the thing that she asked for? The thing you gave her in exchange for some love?"
Elmer's head unhinged. When he rose to view Dale, the ignoble shadows marking his countenance relayed the story to Dale in its entirety.
"Oh my God. You gave our prison stripes away for some hanky-panky?"
Dale didn't believe the words he spoke, and the only proof of their reliability was Elmer's docile expression. Dale slapped Elmer across his benumbed face. Elmer didn't emote in response. His cheeks simply reddened.
"You should be ashamed of yourself."
"I am ashamed of myself," Elmer said.
"You're only ashamed because your plan failed. You didn't get to have sex with her, and that's the only reason why you're acting so miserable."
Elmer wiped his eyes, inhaled until his chest doubled in size, and said in one lengthy sigh, "It's not just about sex, all right? It's about finding someone to love. You got Rita, and what do I got? Nothing, no one, no how. Where's the harm of wanting to change that?
Because you're...
Dale shook his head.
Because we need to get our priorities intact, that's all. Once this whole mess clears away, when I get to ask Freddy about Hobo Crow and you wish Freddy your last goodbye, then you and I will split up and you'll have all the time in the world to chase after that special gal. But until then, we gotta get our priorities intact. Okay, Elmer?
For the longest time, Elmer remained vacillatory and undiscerning. As his breathing steadied, he said, "But I don't got no priorities. I don't really know what I'm working towards, Dale. I mean, you got Hobo Crow to go after, but me?" Dale lifted the emptied flask off the carpet, studied its design, and replaced it in his breast pocket.
I mean, you can still join me in taking down Hobo Crow.
Dale winced at his own words, afraid to reignite Elmer's fury. Instead, Elmer slumped. "That wasn't a part of our compromise."
Well, you know what I have to say about that compromise. If that compromise is gonna leave you feeling so useless, I said we ought to take that compromise and...
Before Dale's sentence finished, a vexed voice was heard from outside the bedroom door.
"What are you doing inside, you filthy mutts? Run along outside where you belong."
Elmer and Dale's face became nothing but eyeballs as a key clicked into the door's metallic lock. The bolt slapped open, and the doorway parted. Standing in the doorway was the mercenary couple, Miriam with her face twisted in a timorous expression, and Harrison, a lobster red. Miriam slapped two open palms to her cheeks and shrieked,
"What the hell are you two buffoons doing here?"
"Shh, shh, shh!" Elmer seized Miriam's shoulders to prevent her from venturing any deeper into her ruined room.
"Get your creasy paws off her, you son of a bitch!"
From his pockets, Harrison withdrew a handgun. With trembling hands, he held the gun as though it were trying to break from his grip.
"I said stand back!"
He now had the pistol's barrel tucked tightly beneath Elmer's nose. Miriam brushed her shoulders clean of Elmer's limp hold and began investigating the bedroom's damage.
"You ought to get on out here with your pal,"
Harrison said, pointing Elmer into the hallway with his free hand.
"And I want to see your hands, all of them. Please don't shoot me. I'm innocent,"
Dale begged. He and Elmer tottered through the bedroom door and into the outside hall, arms raised to the ceiling.
"The only reason why I'm not is because the wallpaper looks too darn pretty,"
Harrison smirked. "Bull crap," Elmer interjected. His back was now pressed against the hallway's wall. "You're sweating up a storm. You're pig-skinned and you're shaking like an Egyptian in the Arctic. You're too nervous to shoot."
"Shut it, Elmer,"
Dale snapped.
"You better listen to your pal. Better shut it right the hell up."
"You ever kill a man, Mr. Quinn?" Elmer asked. "I bet you never even needed to fire that thing. Probably never aimed it at someone neither. Hell, I know you haven't never fired it at someone. The only reason why you bought it is to impress your PRO buddies. I read it in Miriam's."
"I said shut up! I've fired this before and I'll fire it again."
From deep inside the bedroom, Miriam cried,
"Oh my God, Harrison, they flooded our bathroom. Water's getting everywhere." "They did what?"
Harrison asked, backing into the bedroom to get a better look at what Miriam was crying about.
"If the water warps the wood, molds the carpet, or leaves any sort of stink, I'm shooting you and your friend twice."
Elmer rolled his eyes at Harrison's remark, but stopped after noticing an incredulous detail regarding Harrison's bedroom doorknob. Sticking from its keyhole was a thin brass rod the length of one's pinky finger. Dangling from the rod's end was a ring of countless keys, as though it belonged to a warden. "They left their keys in the lock," Elmer whispered. Both Dale and Harrison heard him in unison. Just as Elmer's words left his mouth, Harrison spun to face the doorway.
"Don't you dare!"
Harrison yelled, raising his gun and lunging at the closing door. He and Elmer soon became locked in a game of tug-of-war, with Elmer trying to pull the door closed so he could lock it, and Harrison trying to pull the door open to prevent himself from becoming locked in.
"Come on, Elmer, lock him away. Go, go!"
Dale cheered.
"If you break my doorknob, you die,"
Harrison grunted from the other side. "If you don't want the doorknob to break, just let me close it," Elmer barked.
"Never!"
Harrison gave another pull. Elmer pulled back.
"Miriam, come help me."
"Dale, quit standing around and give me a hand." The doorknob looked as though it would shatter if relief wasn't provided soon.
But what do you want me to do about it? Harrium cried. Grab the doorknob with me and pull, damn you!
With that, Harrison's pull power tripled. The sweat of Dale's palms and the drunkenness of Elmer's endeavors only helped Harrison's pursuit. Just as the door opened far enough for Harrison to reach around and withdraw the key from its lock, Elmer blurted, "Miriam, let go of that doorknob this instant, or else I'll tell Harrison all about Carl." Miriam and Harrison's pull loosened immediately. "Carl, our butler?" Harrison asked. "And Mr. Geen." Harrison's voice fractured. "What is there to hear about the gardener?" "And me," Elmer trumpeted.
"Nothing. There's nothing to hear about any of them, I swear,"
Miriam cried. Elmer looked to Dale and nodded. "Now!" The two gave the door a final tug. Elmer twisted the key, removed it from the lock, and threw it down the hall.
"No, Harrison, it's not like that. I'm yours and yours only, swear."
Was the last they heard of Miriam that night. Dale, Elmer, and their prison strips were free from the Quinn mansion. Chapter 43. As Dale skipped down the driveway with Elmer, he asked,
"You seriously saying Miriam kept track of all her affairs in that diary of hers?"
"I'm saying she kept track of her workers, servants, and slaves, but given her reaction and her disposition, she probably did swing with a couple of them every now and—" Elmer halted. Trudging up the Quinn driveway were two gaunt gentlemen who, lit only by starlight, appeared as ghosts. Both were dressed in shadows, and their pale faces were no more than Rorschach's. They weren't walking alongside the driveway, but in the woods, just as Dale and Elmer had traveled on their way up.
"Hey,
"Who are you?" one skeleton asked.
you work for Mr. Quinn?"
"If so, look the other way, or we'll sock you right over the head," the other mumbled. "Don't believe me? Try me." "No need to sock us. We don't work for Mr. Quinn," Elmer said. Both ghosts stared at him unemotionally.
"How can we trust you?"
"Well," Elmer paused for consideration, but ended by shaking his head. He instead departed from the driveway and approached the two wanderers. He leaned in close and whispered into their ears for nearly 3 minutes. Dale watched it all, but heard nothing besides crickets and wind. When Elmer returned to the driveway, he said, "All right, Dale, let's carry on."
"What did you tell him?"
Dale asked as he started alongside Elmer. "Nothing, Dale." Elmer didn't suppress his guile-filled euphoria. "Not a single goddamn thing. Now let's go break into that chain gang once and for all."